on the computer. Okay, last time I recorded the cloud and I forgot to download it. It's still bitching that I overloaded my online storage. I gotta go pull that stuff. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get. All right, everybody. Let's pay attention for a little bit. We're going to get the show on the road. Quick couple of things coming up. Well, one thing for sure coming up is the Ham Fest at Cuyahoga Falls Amateur Radio Ham Fest, which is at the Medios Party Center in Cuyahoga Falls. It's at the corner of Bath Road and State Road. And that's this Saturday. It starts at about 8 o'clock and goes till, if you don't get there before noon, you're not going to get anything. That's pretty much the wrap up our Ham Fest. So make sure you get there, you know, in the morning if you want to actually participate. That's the only thing I know of off the top of my head. Anyone know of any other events coming up this next month that are worth talking about? Linux Fest is ways off, so I'm not worried about that yet. Okay, so anyway, tonight Shawn's willing to give us a presentation on WireGuard, since we were talking about VPNs on our Discord server, and I brought up the subject of VPNs and asked what people are using, and actually my friend Chris, who's online as well, uses WireGuard, so we have a little more few people using it than they knew about. I didn't even know about it, so it's good introduction to a new product, or not such new, but at least new to me. Anyway, I'll let Shawn have the floor.
Hi.
Hey.
So yeah, we're going to talk about WireGuard and the little I've learned about it over the past week. So WireGuard is a new VPN technology that's recently been included in the Linux kernel. It was actually technically created to be a replacement for IPsec and OpenVPN and stuff like that. I don't know if it's quite there yet, but it's an interesting technology, and it's not too difficult to use once you get the hang of it. Pretty simple, but it doesn't have a lot of the consumer-facing stuff like OpenVPN and things like that. You're not likely to get a whole lot of like GUI utilities, except for some of the specialized things that I recently found here for it. So let's go through. All right. So I'm not going to read this to you. You guys can look at this on your own. This is WireGuard.com. Gives you a good introduction to it, good high-level overview. What I want to do specifically is run through how to set this up. What I did is I created a WireGuard server specifically on DigitalOcean, so I can route my traffic from my local machine to DigitalOcean, and then from there to the wider internet. When WireGuard was created, it was meant to be a peer-to-peer VPN technology, meaning you can link your computer with another computer, and that computer with, you know, meant to be peer-to-peer, but you can do a server client kind of setup with it as well. So yeah, what I did is I created an Ubuntu 2004 server, installed WireGuard, which is just installing the WireGuard tools. Like I said, it's already included in the kernel, so it's already there. Go ahead and SSH in. I'll show you the config.
Did you increase the font a little?
Yeah. If I can type.
Sounds good.
That better?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to take a look at the config that I placed in Etsy WireGuard. Not type. There we go. So it's really easy, simple configuration. you define an interface. Let's nano that. Yeah, I'm a dirty nano user. Don't judge me.
Jake too.
I love
Jake
Nano.
Masquerade.
I want those whips.
Okay, so what we have is we're defining an interface, and this is the server side. So we're just defining the interface, and we include a private key. I'll show you how to create a private key here in a few. I gave it an address. It's an internal address or a
Non-routable.
what's that?
It's non-route. Well,
Yeah, the RFC 1918 address. It's a 172.31. So I created one of those for it. You define the listening port, which typically is for WireGuard is 51820. And then the post up and pre down. These are firewall rules that you can throw at it. So what we're doing here is we're telling it to we're using UFW with this one for some reason, because this is a I used a specific tutorial for this, but yeah, UFW is a little easier. UFW, it allows you to route everything on WG0 out on ETH0. So WG0 is actually another network interface that you create that's specifically WireGuard. I'll show you how to create that as well. Like ETH0 is a Ethernet interface. WG0 is a WireGuard specific interface. So here we're telling UFW to allow us to route all traffic on WG0 out to ETH0. And then here we're telling IP tables to NAT. So what we want to do is create NAT routing, and we want to masquerade. So what this is doing is everything that comes in from your 172 network, we're going to route it out on ETH0, and IP tables is going to masquerade that and NAT. So it's like acting as your router, and everything that goes in and out is masqueraded to the IP of the server instead of the IP of your originating device. And then the pre-down is just turning all this stuff off. So when you WG quick up, it does the post up, and it turns on your firewall rules. You WG down, turns them off. So it's like it was never there. Okay. So quick and dirty. So after we install WireGuard, which is really just you run your updates, you install WireGuard, typically on the command line as you would anything else, and you want to make your keys. There are different ways to do the keys. They like to. This is really cool here. I like the way that they just pipe everything in a T and make your key files. But you don't really necessarily have to. So here they made a clients directory, which I did not do. I just kind of threw everything into the WireGuard directory. But so WG gen key. WG is a it comes with WireGuard. It's their WireGuard tools. It's how you control WireGuard. It's really cool. It's just 2 characters, in my opinion. So then you know WireGuard gen key, and that creates a key. And then here we're gonna barf it into a file called desktop.key, and we're gonna pipe that into WG pub key, which takes the input of your previous, the gen key, which is your private key. And then we're going to create a public key, and we're going to barf that into a file as well. And so, yeah, you have the 2 keys. And then you want to make your WireGuard WG0.conf or WG1 or WG, or I like Smurfs or whatever you want to call it. You can really call it anything you want, but it's going to be a network interface. So we went with WG0. And like I showed you earlier, this is a little simpler version of the, actually, this is the desktop version. This is the peer. So this is what I would have on my desktop. So right here, we're specifying the interface. We're going to give it the private key. So this is a private key. This is actually the private key of my laptop. We're going to give it an address. I didn't choose a 10 dot. I choose a 172.116, or whatever that was. Yeah, 172.116. And then here you're specifying a peer. And your peer is, in this case, is going to be your WireGuard server. So my WireGuard server is actually at 67.205.162.18. So that's what I would specify. That's what I would specify here. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Appear into your server.
Okay, so this is mine. Yeah, the private keys and the public keys are there. If you guys want to copy those, you may, because I'm going to delete this server when I'm done with this tonight, so it's not a big deal. So yeah, so here is where we give it, you know, this is the address that we're going to use internally. This is the address that we want to pipe everything out to, and this is zeros because we want to route the entire internet out to that, into that peer. And here's my endpoint address and my endpoint port. And that's what I specified on here. Is my listen point and my address is there.
By employment address, you mean that's the address you use when you do your VPN?
So the endpoint address is the address of your server that you're going to connect your VPN to. Yeah.
Okay.
If your server at home, is that on your, that's natted also within your.
So I created a server in the cloud.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is a cloud server, so I don't have to deal with that.
Oh, okay.
If you're going to do it with a home server, you're going to use something like duck DNS or some kind of dynamic DNS routing in order to point your domain or something
Back to
your home router. Yeah, if you want to, you know, VPN back into your home network, you can do that.
You could do that with that.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Okay.
But it's best to use that.
Well, if you're going to your home network, you're going to have to use dynamic DNS unless you have a static IP address from your ISP.
Yeah.
Which most people don't. So yeah, you use like duck DNS or something like that to set that up to point your domain name to your home IP address. But I don't have to worry about that because I use the cloud
server.
So, where was I? So yeah, there's this is where we are on the server. It's slightly different on the client. So yeah, so we define the endpoint, which is my server's IP address and its port. We're routing the entire internet through it, which is my CIDR block there. If anybody is wondering what a CIDR block is, it's classless inter-domain routing. Is that right? It's a way to define like subnets and things like that. IP blocks. Here I used the 172.168.1.2/25, which gives me a decent size number of IPs that I can use for that. Yeah, so that's the config. Let's go ahead and go through connecting the peer. So once once you've done your config, you go ahead and run the your WireGuard on your server. This time you want to define your peer. So we're gonna WG set WG0. That's your interface again, and we're gonna tell it we want to define a peer as your desktop client or your desktop public key. That would be this guy right here. No, okay, so there's a desktop public key that you create. And then allowed IPs, and that's your IP that you give that particular client. And then you start WireGuard, which is WG-quick up and WG0 or whatever you named it. I like Smurfs or WG10, whatever you want to call it. No, just something I picked up off my brain because my brain is weird. And then
No comment.
Intel Coffee Lake.
I cannot type. Supposed to do more than that. Oh, am I
That's
not
what
up?
that's what uses all this.
There we go. Okay, so now I'm connected. And there's my input. It shows me I'm connected, transfer, received, all that fun stuff. Latest handshake, that was 5 seconds ago. Shows my allowed IPs, which is the whole internet. My endpoint, IP and port. And the keys, which again, yeah, those are my keys. Steal them if you want. I'm deleting this.
That on AWS or is that a?
Sorry, no smartphone.
What's that?
Sorry, no smartphone.
No smartphone?
Don't-
I don't know.
What's that mean?
Gee, I can't take a picture.
Oh,
I got it for you, so I'll print it off. I don't know.
oh yeah, I changed my network so that just crapped out.
Oh,
Everybody
That's
has.
the reason he's offering.
I love when I do that.
so is the, so to generate your public and private keys, WireGuard has utility
Yeah,
for that.
it's a
program.
gent key or yeah, gent key and pub key
Okay,
commands. Yeah, it generates it for you, and then like if you use T or something and you want to barf it into a file,
mhm.
it'll spew it out in command line and it'll put it in a file.
Oh, I see.
Is that GPG?
What's that?
Is that GPG packet encryption?
It's public key encryption. It's not technically GPG. It's
PGP.
yeah, I don't know what they would call it, but it is asymmetric encryption.
Okay.
Or asymmetric certificates encryption. Yeah, but yeah, it's encrypted. Where am I? Okay, so yeah, I was okay. There we go. So last handshake with my laptop from my router or from my server was 4 seconds ago. There we go.
So to put this on like a cell phone or some other apps?
Yes, I was actually going to do that now.
Ah,
I haven't done that yet. There is a way to do that. There's a WireGuard client for Android. I don't know about iOS, but probably.
Chris might know. Chris, you run both Android and,
Yeah, just Android. Yeah, I run the Android client on my phone.
okay. Does Jen still use Apple? But she
Mhm.
doesn't have it. Huh?
No,
Yeah, I didn't know if you were running an Apple yet. You kind of vacillate back and forth.
no, no, not that far. I can't go that far left.
No, that's pretty far. Let's see. So what else we got?
Has there been more internet theft with Ubuntu than before? Do you know?
I'm sorry, what?
Is there more internet theft on Ubuntu enemies and stuff? Do you know?
What you mean by
Internet
that?
theft, you mean
Still in your
security
identity.
holes?
Oh, well,
That you want
as
something
far
like
as
that.
identity theft is concerned, it's usually not technology specific. That's usually comes down to
Information.
human interaction. The human is usually the weak point, not the operating system.
Yeah.
If you're looking for security and stuff like that, Linux tends to
Well,
be
they,
more security.
yeah, they
More
don't,
security.
they give you the WPN for Microsoft, but they don't from LifeLock, but they don't for, you know, Ubuntu.
WP.
Well, your protection for,
Oh, like antivirus
VPN?
and stuff?
yeah, it's still your identity, isn't it?
What, you mean
I'm not-
software?
VPN,
VPN.
Oh,
VPN,
VPN.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay. Yeah, this is a different kind of VPN.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. Yeah, LifeLock, I don't know if they have a Linux client or not. but
No, I'm saying that you can get it for the Microsoft, but you can't get it for you. So I can put it on my phone, but I can't put it on my desktop.
Right, if they use OpenVPN, you could probably get an OpenVPN config and add that to your.
I mean, I'm
Ubuntu
not worried
desktop.
about, that's why I'm just gonna put it on the
But
computer to begin with.
I'm picky about my VPN clients. I have a Proton VPN on this, and they do have a VPN client, so, you know, it's something else to consider. If you're gonna use Linux, I tend to look for things that actually support it, so. But that's me. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get my phone set up. Let's go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and generate some keys here, and we're gonna generate a configuration file. And then we're gonna barf that into a QR code so that I can scan that with my phone. Make it super simple. Go ahead and copy that whole line, because that's. And
You say bar, are you meaning copy?
no, I mean barf as in spit it out into a file.
Stream, redirect.
Right, and I like,
yeah.
I prefer barf.
Doesn't bring up very nice images.
No, I'm rude. I'm
Yes, you
rude.
are.
Too dirty, you said.
Yeah. Don't mind me. Or do, I don't know. Okay, so go ahead.
Object.
Barf is better.
He said art object.
Oops, I ran the wrong direction. No, we use that. There we go. Okay. Okay.
Trying to set up your phone.
Yes. Okay, so we got two keys there. So yeah, so again, we ran WGGen key, which generates a random key. We use T to barf this into a file, I'm sorry, redirect it into a file.
Somebody else also said pipe, so you could just add that.
Well,
That
no, when we used pipe, yeah,
pipe's
we did use pipe, we did gen key, and we piped that to T, which pushed that into a file, created our new file with our key in there. And then we piped this to WG pub key, which creates a public key from the private key that we created with gen key. And we we teed that into another file.
Just can't break the habit.
I am,
Hey, don't even try.
okay, I'm just going
What-
back to bar.
what- Remind me what T is
It's on
again.
your laptop,
T,
right?
it takes input and it throws it into a file, or a text
Oh.
file.
Okay,
It parses it into a file. So, yeah.
But it stays on standard.
is that, because usually I just redirect. Is that,
Takes from standard input and writes to standard output and
Oh.
files.
Redirect.
Okay.
only goes to the file.
Man. All right, so that's what we did there to create our key files.
So how are you gonna get it to your phone?
I'll get there. So the next thing we need to do is create our configuration file. And I don't need the sudo edit because I am root, so we will just nano this mobile.conf. Spell that right? I have not been spelling well tonight. And do, yeah, no, maybe I won't just copy and paste here. So I'm gonna define interface that is capital. What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, nano.
yeah,
Like I said, I'm a dirty nano user. I don't do the Vim like everybody else does.
Just get VS Code.
Well, that's what I use when I'm not using nano.
Which one?
VS Code. It's a graphical, it's a Microsoft editor, yeah. It is a Microsoft product, but it does its job and has tons of plugins. and it's,
It's kind of like what is it?
VPN.
And there's GM. It's a graphical.
Protection.
Okay, I'm not done.
So,
I've heard of it. It's parsed.
Okay, so I needed that to get the keys.
so this webpage that you're on is at tech, what? Tech. can't find it.
Yeah, I just Googled how to set up WireGuard. This is
okay.
the one that they came across that actually worked well.
Okay, good.
It's pretty basic, but it does it. So we're gonna take the private key from
Hate to be a
mobile
pain.
private
You
key
make
file
those fonts just move it
to this guy.
I don't know if you can expand the text format on that or not.
Oh, is it too small still?
We have a lot of blind
One
people.
click, all right.
There we go. That better?
There you go, Rich.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's what happens when everyone gets old.
Keep breathing and you'll be there too.
Hey, I know, I'm there. That's why I'm sitting up here for a reason.
Let's do 3.
Now I can read the keys.
Got 1.
Probably got some Emacs people in here, don't we?
Okay.
That's supposed to be.
Find DNS because I can't.
Yeah, that's the Windows system.
It goes back to your root server or
Yeah.
1.0, 1.1.1.
This, yeah.
Which DNS is that?
That's
I
why,
got
that's,
a LifeLock. Give it to you. You can put it on the phone, but you can't put it on.
I forget whose DNS that is. My brain's not
But
bringing
it's-
up the name of it,
But
but
it's
it's like a more secure DNS.
more secure DNS.
I got it. It's supposed to be 299. I got it for $180. It's your identity theft.
Yeah.
Yeah, they give.
It's,
LifeLock, Nord.
There's a lot of commercial VPNs that cost a fair amount of money, you know.
Well, LifeLock gives it with Norton when you buy
Yeah.
their tax program.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, I hate Norton. When you put that on a machine, you just scrubbed off about 80% of your capacity. It's just, it drives into the ground. It hooks to every operating system call, I think that there is.
That's what happened with phone jumping from data off of the Wi-Fi.
We used to have people come in and, oh, my computer won't work. And they've got like 3 antivirus programs loaded. They've got Norton, they've got, Symantec, or they have another one on. It's like they're all fighting with each other for resources, and computers pretty much worthless at that point. One's bad enough. Norton is about the worst.
Do you have to use that port?
That's the port that I defined on my server. And that's what the server looks for
Right.
VPN connections for WireGuard. You can change that if you like, but that's the default for WireGuard. That's what they suggest. But, yeah, you can use whatever you want within the normal port range that's not already reserved. Okay, so here's where we do something fun. Oh yeah, we gotta go to the client or the server and set it here. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna set, and we're gonna give it the interface name. So we're gonna set it up here, and we're gonna use the hub key. This guy. We're gonna allow a key.
So when you get this working, and then you shut it down because you finished for the night or whatever, you have to reestablish those keys when you bring it up again.
Nope. They're already defined in the configuration files. And then all you have to do is WG quick up or WG quick down to bring up the interface, or
And it
tear down the
generates new
interface.
keys,
What's that?
and it generates new keys. when-
No,
so
the
you
keys are
just get
static.
once.
Yeah, you just don't generate them once. You define them in your configuration file, and that's all you have to do.
Like two-factor authentication?
That's not a thing with WireGuard yet.
No.
Not that I'm aware of. Like I said, it's not quite as mature as stuff like OpenVPN and things like that. So you're not going to have Active Directory integration or LDAP or like 2FA, that kind of thing. So it's not that I'm aware of anyway. There might be services that integrate that, but you probably have to pay for it.
You haven't barked.
No, I haven't barked it. All right, where was I? Allow that key, so.
Sophos. Other VPN called Sophos, I haven't heard of. That's a great product.
Okay, so here's where we're gonna do some more barfing.
So this is the configuration for the phone. Can you just email the configurations to yourself and?
No, so you install something called QR encode.
And he's fast.
So apt install QR encode. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that configuration file and we're gonna pipe it into QR encode. And then we're gonna take this WireGuard app and we're gonna take a picture of the QR code. That's gonna set it up for us.
That's cool. So basically it'll generate the QR code on your computer and then your phone just redirect from that to the setup configuration. Give everyone a tour here. I think there's 19 of us here tonight. So this is a pretty good group that we've had for a while. Usually we've been getting close to our old numbers. We used to always have between 25 plus or minus about 5. Usually we had about 22, 25, something like that. Then after COVID, our numbers kind of dwindled and they're starting to get back to normal.
But you're not including, people,
Which people?
anybody online?
Oh, there's, yeah, Chris is online, Javen's online, and yeah, he's there. So we have probably, there's 6 people online too. Well, actually 4 people online. Heck, there's the online. Chris, then I don't know if Dennis's iPhone is the same. I guess, yeah, okay, Dennis.
They're gonna be sorry they can't see the screen like I had to come here.
Well, they can see it remote. That's not bad. That's all right.
So I don't use it.
So setting it up on a tablet's the same as setting it up on a phone, I presume. Yeah, still Android.
I haven't done this yet, so apparently this is like not working the way I.
Yeah. Maybe Chris can lend a hand. What do you think, Chris? What's the trick?
You're getting it installed in on the mobile?
Yeah, on a mobile device.
I'm trying to get a QR.
Yeah, I could actually, want to share, I could share my screen.
Okay,
I have my mobile device that you can take a look at.
so if you stop sharing, Chris can share. I think you can actually set up multiple shares. Okay, there you go, Chris. Okay.
So you get to my screen here. Give me a second. There we go. Can you see that?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, that's my mobile. And I have it installed. And actually to install it, you just, you install that little guy. It's free.
WireGuard. Okay.
And then once it's installed, you just, for at least in Android, you just kind of pull down from the top of the screen.
Right.
And you see the little WireGuard icon right here.
Oh,
And if you click that, now all of the IP comms will go through your VPN. So whatever you do, whether you're going to read email or pull up your web browser or anything that uses IP will go through your VPN instead of the cellular networks, core router. And what I have at home, I've got Windstream, and I have a static IP, and I just set up my WireGuard server at home, and that's how I route all my traffic through. And it works really well with mobile devices, that change addresses all the time. And it is one thing that I hear that WireGuard is a lot more, I guess it operates a lot more smoothly with mobile devices as opposed to OpenVPN, which doesn't like addresses and things to change while it's functioning.
Oh, I see. So if you're moving in and out of different zones as you have your connection open, it'll handle the handover of
Yeah.
carriers.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's nice.
But yeah, the setup's real trivial, and you can, I didn't use the QR code trick. I just went ahead and typed in everything by hand. Actually, I SSH'd. I have an SSH app on my phone and I copied it that way. But one way or another, it's pretty trivial to get everything, pushed over. But it's an amazing app.
That's pretty neat.
So.
So what SSH tool do you use on your phone?
I use, was it Lemon? I think it's Lemon SSH.
Okay.
Oh, Juice SSH. It has a lemon icon.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, I saw that. I don't think I did use that one though.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
You have to, yours is inside your home network. So you have to do port forwarding at your firewall or on the,
No, my firewall actually has a public IP address. So that's my public IP address.
yeah.
So you know what Shawn was showing earlier about your endpoint. So for the endpoint, I just use my public IP address.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to do any
No natting or anything.
NAT on yours?
No.
Okay. Because does it handle NAT as far as just doing port forwarding through a NAT?
I don't see why not. I haven't worked with that configuration though.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure it should work, I would imagine, because you're port forwarding and it should know which internal IP to go to if you are natted in your internal home network. So that would be good. All right, cool.
Yeah, it's just really cool. It's I switched over to it around the time when Linux kernel 5.6 came out, and they were touting the fact that Linus had decided to tightly integrate WireGuard into the Linux kernel source, and that alone means a lot. Right? When you have somebody as bright as Linus to kind of get associated with and hitch up to that wagon. At the time, I think I was still using other VPN applications, but I decided to give WireGuard a try. And I think I was most influenced by the fact that people were saying that it's faster because it's, an integral part of the kernel. And that's what really made me want to give it a try. And it's funny because the day I tried it, it was real easy to install. I run Arch Linux, and Arch, if you do a Google search on Arch Linux, WireGuard, you'll get a really nice single page document on how to install it and set it up. So no troubles.
Yeah, pretty smooth operation.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have multiple devices logged into your server then same time?
Yep.
So if you have a laptop and your phone out at a restaurant someplace, both of them can go back through the VPN.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And actually do that from time to time.
Yeah. No, that's pretty good. So that's a nice setup.
Yeah. Every device gets its own, configuration. Every device has its own public private key setup. So
makes it pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you've been using it for a while, Shawn, or just setting this for just this week? Okay. So
just in my spare time, I've been playing with it. So.
Yeah. Okay.
But I've been meaning to for a while. So
yeah. I've been meaning to set up a VPN because a lot of times I'm out and I just use the public. And I think the phone actually, when I plug it in at home, to charge it at night, it says it's turning off the VPN. So I think there is a VPN within the phone's normal app that I think providers now have gotten smart enough to do that. So I'm not sure where that VPN ends at, if it's ending at the cell tower or where it ends at. And that's the thing, you're ending your VPN at your house, but you're assuming that you have a secure connection from your house to wherever you're going. So that's the, it's not like you can jump to different countries and again, the question is on a VPN, where's the end of that tunnel? Where's that drop off at? Because it eventually drops off at just a standard internet someplace. You're not going to the final destination. If you're going to a particular website, it's not dropping you into that website directly. It's dropping you in a geographic area, and then you're just traveling through the normal backbone to get to that place. So the wires could be sniffed, through another router or another some other switch gear that is capturing packets. So it doesn't give you ultimate security from point to point. It's not a point-to-point encryption method per se. It's just the endpoint is the end of their VPN and you don't know where that is. Or you
Yeah,
might know the country it's in, but you don't know how secure that is either. So dropping into your house is probably just as good as dropping it any place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, trust that more than anything. I mean, I can go to China and browse Facebook if I wanted to. There's,
Yeah.
nothing they can do to stop it unless, except for if they block my my personal IP address here on Windstream.
Right, yeah, because you're on fiber through Windstream, aren't you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's going all the way back to their core routers, because all fibers go back to a switch. You have a switch port dedicated to your piece of fiber coming in your house, which is the way Feral on Gig is also.
Yeah.
I assume they do the same thing on any of the fiber transport layers, because they can't just splice fibers together. They have to go to a switch. So that gives you at least security that you're getting back to core piece of equipment inside of a building. somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know where the switch is. I mean, I guess it could be in the box at the end of the neighborhood here.
I don't know. I don't think they go too much out in the field with that kind of equipment. They might, but they do have fiber switches. I know Fairlawn runs all but back to the head end. So there's big bundles of fiber that go all the way back to the main building. So you have a pretty secure connection to there, and then they have multiple connections going to different from other main trunk line providers that bring connections into the Fairlawn Gig. It goes from there. So I'm not sure, what layers of security you have any place. I mean, it's all kind of hot shot as far as where your data ends up going across the network.
It's one of the cool things about running your own VPN server. You
Yeah.
control that.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you know what's dropping off in your house, and if you trust your home provider, then
Even if it's in the cloud, you control the server.
That's
so
true.
You got the logs.
yeah, you can see what's going on. So that's pretty good. So anyway, I guess anyone have any questions at this point on VPNs in general? Or WireGuard?
So is the opinion basically WireGuard for personal use is better than going to a service?
That's free, and you can use it on Linux and anything else. I guess they have Windows apps and everything else, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
Windows, Android, I think iOS, but I'm not 100% on that.
Maybe
It'll
iOS.
just make you hate more than it.
Yeah. Well, and what the other ones all advertise when you go, I've been researching it a little bit on and off. And all of the VPNs, they all advertise, well, you can make it look like they're coming from other countries. So if you want to watch Netflix in Europe versus Netflix here, you can get different content, based on. So if you're really going after spoofing where you're living at, so you can get content from other places that might be blocked in our country, then that's a good reason to pay for a pay service.
Caveat emptor on that. A lot of the streaming services will block known VPN address blocks.
Oh.
If you're using like a shared, like OpenVPN or VPN Unlimited, they've got their big hubs that a lot of traffic moves through. They'll block those. So if you try to go to
Oh.
Amazon or Hulu, it'll tell you that you're not authorized.
That's interesting.
Found that you can use the free version of Windscribe to go to England.
Yeah,
I was
there
able to
are
watch,
other ways around it. I'm not arguing, just saying.
They've got the proxy server and the regular full
Okay.
VPN. All you really need is a proxy for something like that.
Yeah, and that's why I said buyer beware, just understand if you do that VPN to try and do the location shifting, some services will hit walls on that.
And
Or at
there
least that
is-
was my experience.
And I found there is an installer for Windows, Mac, Android, and iOS, and install instructions for everything from Debian, Fedora, Arch, OpenSUSE. I don't know who uses that, and many others. So, yeah. Was it?
Who uses it?
The Grinch uses it.
The Grinch.
Yeah, the Grinch,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I actually had Zeus running on I think it's still on one of my old machines that I haven't started in about 15 years. It's an old Dell machine, old Dell server. Anyway, anyone want any old 486 servers? I've got a few of those laying around the house. Okay, all right.
Core 2.4.
Yeah.
Unless there's pizza.
All right, so I guess we pretty much went through the routine. Chris, you have any more to add on how to set it up, or I don't know, you watched through most of it, I guess?
No, yeah, the presentation was great, very complete. I mean, it's pretty much what I did, and it speaks to, I think, the high quality of the software, how they put it together, just how simple it is. I've set up other VPNs that were a lot more difficult.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So what kind of hardware are you running it on at your house? Is it just old machine you have sitting around, or did you?
Yeah, it's an old Core i7 from is my last machine.
Oh.
It's got like 64 gigs of RAM in it, but it's kind of funny because none of it gets used because it's just a firewall.
You probably put it on a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would it work on that? Would it have that have enough horsepower to run it?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I've got a Pi on my desk here. It's dual core, 4 gigahertz, I think, is what they're running at for the CM4. It's a 64-bit architecture. And as of end of February, they support 64-bit OS now. So
yeah, that would be good to set that up. It'd be 5 watts or something, so it wouldn't break your electrical budget.
I'm working on a project now with the Raspberry Pi CM4 in it, and then it's got a 2 gigabit ports and then a 7-port gigabit switch coming off of that.
Wow.
For a networking application. So
that'd be good. So that has enough horsepower to handle all the network traffic.
Yeah. Yep.
That's good. Is you just using the standard Raspbian 64-bit?
No, that's the way we started. And then I've actually went and used Buildroot to generate a custom OS for it.
Oh, what is it? Build Earth?
Buildroot.
Build Earth.
Buildroot.
Build Root. Oh, Build Root. Yeah.
It's like a really basic way to generate a file system, a whole OS, right? Inclusive of your Linux kernel, your file system, all your libraries, your applications, and it'll compile an image then that you could put on your target device.
Oh.
It's similar, but much easier than Yocto, if you've heard of that.
So it's very lightweight OS. Now,
Yeah, it's like an OS generator. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. So nothing extra. Just build
Right.
what you want.
Exactly. Yeah.
You keep all the other applications off there that could have holes or problems. So it makes it faster probably too, since it doesn't have to do everything else.
Faster to load at the end of the line, which they're very concerned about.
Oh, startup time. Yeah.
No, well, just flashing time.
Oh.
So they got to program every one of these, and they don't want to program, a multi-gigabyte image. They'd much rather program an image that's like, 32 or 64 megabytes.
Oh yeah, yeah. It goes a lot faster, and bring it up, and not much hardware is necessary as far as SD cards or anything else.
And yeah, you're right. I mean, from a security perspective, the less it's on there, the less surface area you have for other holes and things that you don't want.
Yeah.
List of like public servers for
Public server. Oh, is there public servers for WireGuard?
So there are some VPN providers that have WireGuard integration.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of them all. The one that I use, Proton VPN, does have the WireGuard available on some of its servers. So, but I'm not aware of any of the others because that's the only real VPN that I use.
Too.
What's that?
Molvad. You can use either their client, which runs on like Linux and Windows and everything, or if you want, they'll just give you a WireGuard config and be like, yeah, just you load this into whatever WireGuard client you're using, and then it'll connect to our server.
That's pretty slick. Yeah.
That's nice.
the main advantage for WireGuard is what, security, because it's working at the kernel level or something?
Well, security and performance. It's a lot more performant than something like OpenVPN. It's faster. It takes up fewer resources.
Where should start it at?
What's that?
Where did it originate from? Where's the company?
No, that's not a
It's not a
company,
company, it's an
open source
yeah,
project.
Just an app?
Yeah,
Just some people that wanted to make a better VPN and did.
that's how Linux kind of started. Everyone did volunteer work and still quite a bit of volunteer work and quite a bit of
MULLVAD.
companies actually will, send their engineers to work on projects that are open source because they can use it and they actually get benefit from doing open source as well, because they get other companies to help work on it as well. So it's like a multiplication of their workforce.
That's my son learned at Star State, and then he worked in Washington. The first place he worked was called OpenEye, and that's what they used was Linux.
Oh, yeah.
There's only two guys, and another guy that ran it. He ran most of it out of his house. So in the basement, he had extra computers
There's,
in case they needed him for,
a lot of companies run a lot of stuff on Linux. There's more stuff on Linux than the internet is basically running on Unix, Linux type derivative machines. There's very little of it. I don't know, Chris, you have any idea how much, what percentage is running on Linux? It's probably at least in the,
Last I heard it was
70%.
80.
I'm sure probably 80s.
yeah, 80,
Last I
90%.
heard, and that was, I don't know the veracity. I can't speak to the veracity. of that.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, because I mean, Microsoft tried and it just kept flopping in there, it's
IIS
dying.
is just like IIS is a dumpster fire, so.
Yeah. Well, they tried to, actually, Microsoft was pissed at one time because they outsourced their web hosting and they found out down the road that it was being hosted on Linux, which pissed them off. And they, we got to have this on our own operating. So they tried, so they forced them to switch it over to, their,
It just fell over.
oh, it died. It just could not keep it going. And they finally relented and said, okay, fine.
And
said the coast.
Azure runs on Linux now. so.
Azure does too. Yeah. Runs on Linux. So they're
And
on,
Linux runs on Windows now.
yeah.
Amazon said,
Windows subsystem for Linux.
Oh,
Or,
yeah.
sorry, the Linux subsystem for Windows.
Oh, so they're running Linux on top of Windows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
Windows,
all the Linux tools and things like that. So
yeah. Well, even,
WSL is a nice functionality for Windows.
what was?
Windows subsystems for Linux.
Oh.
It allows you to run like Ubuntu. It's not strict virtualization, but it allows you to run Ubuntu on a Windows system, which is pretty handy for running Docker and doing things like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Having
So-
a proper bash terminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did they just allow
Look at the kids.
piano Linux? The central,
Kids with,
Okay.
Sent
I've not
us,
seen that one.
sent us.
yeah, that's how new they just
Okay.
created it this year.
Okay, cool. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. Well, I started seeing parts of Unix type structure underneath Windows operating system years ago. And it's like, well, it looks like they're slowly pulling it in. I mean, they had to steal the IP stack from GNU. Hmm?
They stole Etsy from them.
Oh, they stole, well, yeah,
Thought they stole it.
Took away
the NT was actually from DEC. They stole they grabbed the engineer that wrote,
That's pretty long.
what was it? Which D,
That works?
Pretty good.
DEC,
No,
what was DEC's operating system?
Ultrix.
Ultrix? Well, it was Ultrix. They had,
It ate things up.
NT came from the
The
Unix
VMS
type
was the OS,
There's
but
your
the GUI, I
screen
don't know.
VMS. The guy that wrote the operating system for DEC that was on the on their bigger platforms. They grabbed him and wrote NT. That was back in the 90s. So that was way back. DEC's been gone for decades. But anyway, yeah, Windows is basically only reason it works is it was derived from Windows or from Linux, or some, Unix variant at some point. But anyway,
You're
not gonna buy this space.
WSL two.
Got stuff.
Microsoft allows
Got the-
Linux
Yeah.
tools to look at
But I don't go over with you.
Yeah.
No, it's only facing that way.
It's facing me.
Oh,
Microsoft tools cannot
Weird.
see Linux.
Just
Oh,
ring it up
interesting.
if you want. It's
Yeah, I don't know.
23,
There is a
43,
certain
so-
advantage to
Okay.
using IIS if you're gonna use integrated authentication.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're a corporation that.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, but those corporate websites probably aren't running at the corporate level anyway. They're probably outsourced to some cloud resources
Well,
anyway.
nowadays they are.
Yeah.
When it was all developed.
Yeah,
it was
right.
Internal.
Okay, well, I think we're gonna call it a meeting and they want to close the restaurant at 9 o'clock. So I think we're gonna start packing up and paying our bills here. So anyway, thanks for jumping in there, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for the great presentation. It was awesome.
So that'll be good. If you happen to be around Montrose, we'll be at lunch tomorrow. So, you know, if you're want to jump out the race.
I'll be in Valley View tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, I know you're busy with meetings all the time, but yeah, we'll catch up with you a little later. Maybe try to make the Ham Fest. Oh, the Ham Fest is Saturday. It's just around the corner from you, Medio's Party Center.
Maybe.
Yeah, in the morning, I'll be there. Me and Grover, we're doing the VE tests, you know, giving Medio's State Road and Bath Road on the intersection. Yeah,
What time is that open?
starts at 8 and goes till about, well, noon, actually technically till 1, but vendors start packing up by 11 o'clock. Yeah, if you get there too late, people are starting
It's
to.
too early for me. I can't do that on Saturday.
Oh, I know, it's hard. I don't do Saturday. I don't do early mornings anything anymore, but early morning is when I'm going to bed is the problem. It's like, anyway, but yeah, that's stop.